The U.S. Senate flexes their Ukraine first muscles last night. And, well, yeah, that would be America last. We'll give you all the details. Plus, the Biden administration is under attack right now because of, well, you know, the mashed potato brains. So they're going on the offensive with a new TikTok campaign. He even ate fried chicken with a black family. I'm not kidding. We're going to show that to you. Liberal families are bringing in illegal immigrants to live with them out of the kindness of their hearts. And it turns out they've got a lot of live-in servants in the deal as well. Oh, boy, they're good, aren't they? My name's Larry O'Connor. You can call me Larry. We're live right now on Rumble, and you can catch us live daily at noon Eastern time. If you're watching us after the fact on that other video platform, I'll say it, YouTube. Well, swing on by and join us live because we're going to be gathering your comments as our audience builds. We'll interact with your comments, and that's a good thing. Also, by the way, listen, I know that people sometimes miss the video show, but they want to catch up. Well, we are now offering the audio of this program as a podcast on every single podcast platform. Wherever you like your podcasts, look for this show and subscribe. Leave a comment as well or a review because that really helps us out too. And we appreciate all the support. All right, let's get right to it. Last night, in the middle of the night, have you noticed, did your mom ever used to tell you nothing good ever happens at 3 a.m, right? My mom used to say that to me. And boy, were they right, because in the middle of the night last night, the United States Senate pushed through a $94 billion, what they're calling foreign aid package that, again, wraps up most of the dollars are wrapped up in Ukraine military funding and weapons. They also threw in there as a token Israel and Taiwan. This is what they do. Have you noticed that every single bill pushed through the Congress in the last 2 years since the Russia invasion of Ukraine, every single bill that has Ukraine funding for the United States of America has been tied to another bill? They refuse to have a standalone up or down vote on Ukraine. Why is that? Why is that? The vast, huge bulk of this bill is Ukraine funding, and yet they throw in Taiwan and Israel. Because, you know, if you vote against it, oh, so you're against Israel? You hate Taiwan? Or if you're a senator who really thinks that Israel deserves to have some military spending right now to defend themselves against the existential threat of Hamas, then you're going to go ahead and vote for it, even if you may be against Ukraine. This is what they do. The last time they pushed through Ukraine funding, they tied it to a hurricane relief bill in Florida, because those two things have a lot in common. Well, last night, as the debate was raging on through the night and overnight until the vote actually happened somewhere around 5:30 this morning, Mitt Romney of Utah, he gave away the store here with this statement. I think he thought he was helping, but watch.
The vote we will soon take to provide military weapons for Ukraine is the most important vote we will ever take as United States senators. The vote we will soon take.
The most important vote that they will ever take as United States senators is to fund the Ukraine military. Not a vote to give you tax relief. Not a vote to stop rampant government spending so inflation can finally get under control and you can afford things again. Not a vote to get the government out of your lives. Or if you come from the perspective that the Congress should be spending money to improve your life, okay, fine. Not a vote to help your kids' schools out. Not a vote to protect your children from online predators. Not a vote to help your medical expenses get reduced, or perhaps provide health care for elderly or disabled Americans who can't afford it or are incapable of getting it. No, none of that matters. Kill it all. If the United States Senate does one thing, if they stand for one thing, it's to fund the Ukrainian military. Not a vote to protect your borders and to stop illegal immigration. That wasn't important. Certainly not as important as this, according to Mitt Romney. Not a vote to fund your military so that privates and corporals in the Army or young junior officers in the Marines don't have to live out of their car or eat macaroni and cheese because they're having trouble making ends meet. No, that's not nearly as important as funding the Ukraine military. It's astonishing to hear him say it, but he said it.
The vote we will soon take to provide military weapons for Ukraine is the most important vote we will ever take as United States Senators.
That you might as well quit then if you think that's your job. And by the way, he did quit because he couldn't win re-election in Utah. A Republican unable to win re-election in Utah. As our colleague on the Salem Radio Network, Dennis Prager, likes to put it, you know what? I prefer clarity to agreement. We're never going to agree with these guys, but at least we have some clarity here when they actually say things like this out loud. In fact, Mitt Romney took to his X platform here, and he tweeted this out along with his entire 5-minute floor speech. We are not being asked to send American troops into war only to help the Ukrainians defend themselves. If we fail to help Ukraine, Putin will invade a NATO nation. Ukraine is not the end. It is a step, and letting Putin have his way with Europe would jeopardize our security. This is honestly kind of the only argument they have right now. And you hear it over and over and over again. He's not going to stop at Ukraine. He's going to go right into a NATO country, and then we will be forced to commit our troops to the effort. So it's better to fund the Ukrainian military. Well, first of all, we've been in a standoff for 2 years now with the Ukrainian military. It's almost like they're incapable of winning this and stopping Russia, or they don't have the will to do so. I'm not sure which. I'm assuming they have the will to do so. So let's say they're incapable of it. So we're going to continue this standoff forever under this threat that we know that for sure Putin is going to invade the next country. It'll be Poland or some other NATO country, and then America will be committed to defending that country. Well, a couple of things here. First of all, I get it. I get it. You think Putin is Hitler, and if you can go back in time and you can stop Hitler from invading Poland or Czechoslovakia to prevent World War II, you certainly would have done it. Okay, if you really truly believe that, then why don't you show some cojones? Why don't you actually stop with the proxy war? You really believe that? You really believe that by funding the Ukrainian military for a 2-year standoff that isn't doing anything and isn't accomplishing anything, that you're preventing World War III? If you really believe Putin's Hitler, then why don't you just actually have the cojones to ask for funding to send our troops there, right? I mean, taking your argument, if you could stop Hitler back in 1939, wouldn't you have done it to stop World War II? Well, sure. So if you really think Putin is Hitler and he's on the verge of World War III, why not just propose right now that we send our troops to help Ukraine and we can fight shoulder to shoulder with them and end this thing right now? Why won't you do that? Of course, the answer is obvious. They know, first of all, that they could never get support for that. So instead, well, it's fine to just send somebody else to go fight our fights for us. And and what's money after all? We can afford it. And also deep in their heart, they know that Putin is not going to invade Poland. How do we know that? Well, because Putin, crazy as he may be, and he may very well be crazy, he knows full well that the second he crosses that line, that border into Poland, he automatically triggers the NATO precautions, the NATO defenses. If he wanted a war with the United States of America, I mean, he could have picked a war with the United States of America. It doesn't make any logical sense. Why did Hitler roll into Poland and roll into Czechoslovakia? Because he knew that Great Britain and other countries weren't going to do anything about it. And Putin knows right now that we have to do something about it if he rolls into Poland. And they leave that part of the equation out, don't they? It's completely disingenuous, and it's unbecoming a United States senator to threaten to blackmail American mothers and fathers who have children in the military. If you oppose us, it means that we're just going to have to send your kids. Wow. Yeah, this is their most important vote, that's for sure. Meanwhile, Mitch McConnell upped the rhetoric even beyond Mitt Romney, believe it or not. Hopefully you can decipher what he's saying, because he's sounding about as coherent as Joe Biden these days.
Today, the future of the world I've just described is in question. The endurance of an order in which American support is craved and American strength is feared is in doubt. And we, the United States of America, have the most to lose. Ever since we came to the aid of our allies 80 years ago, America has been an inseparable partner in the security of Europe. Not out of charity, but because our own security and prosperity is tied to it. Ever since we were attacked in 1941, America has helped guarantee stability and free commerce in the Indo-Pacific, not as a moral gesture, but because we have core interests of our own in this critical part of the world.
Okay, fine. Understood. That's great. But what was that first part again?
Today, the future of the world I've just described is in question.
The future of the world is in question. And he fears that other countries are not going to respect the United States and our military and our ability to actually work diplomatically to stop aggression and engagement. Well, you know why? You know why? Because for the last 20 years, Mitch McConnell and other politicians like him, including Joe Biden, this isn't a partisan thing, they have fecklessly committed American troops to causes that go on and have no end in sight, and they can't even define what winning looks like. And that's exactly what they're doing here. I mean, if you're worried about America's respect and stature around the world, Mitch, you should probably look in the mirror. You know how bad this vote was? Even Lindsey Graham is against it. I didn't think Lindsey Graham had opposed any kind of military spending, but he put out this statement here. And he first talks about our border as a national security nightmare, drugs flowing at record levels, over 7 million crossings, an all-time high of people on the terrorist watch list coming into our country. And then he says, I believe the solution to this problem is the following formula. The supplemental aid package should be a loan to the countries in question, as suggested by President Trump. Wait, what? We should do what Trump suggested we do and just make it a loan. Remember when Trump suggested that last week and he was roundly mocked and ridiculed by all the intelligentsia? Is Lindsey Graham lobbying for a cabinet position here? I think he might be. Please be careful, President Trump. Please know who you're dealing with here. President Trump is right to insist that we think outside the box. I hope the House will take another meaningful look at border security so they can pass the Senate. I also hope the House will turn the supplemental aid package into a loan instead of a grant. Until that day comes, I'll be voting no. Lindsey Graham, ladies and gentlemen. Dang. Well, we'll get to what the House is going to do about this in a minute. Speaker Johnson did put out a statement, but I want to share with you what some really brave, courageous, and frankly, heroic Republicans did all night long in trying to delay this vote as much as they could. They couldn't muster enough people for a full-on filibuster. But Mike Lee, J.D. Vance, Marco Rubio, Rand Paul, and a handful of others, Ron Johnson, I'm sorry if Rick Scott, I believe, they did a great job all through the night delivering remarks specifically opposing this package. Let's start with Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky.
So I, for one, think that the American people are opposed to this bill. I think they're opposed to the concept of Ukraine first and America last. And I predict that this issue doesn't go away. I predict that the House of Representatives is not going to take up this bill. I predict that the vast majority of the Republicans in the House of Representatives are more conservative than the Republicans in this body. And I predict that this fight is not over. During this debate, and the fact that we were able to delay and talk about this for 5 days, 5.5 days, the Speaker of the House spoke out. And I don't know that he would have been prompted to speak out, although he has spoken out previously against this. But the Speaker of the House spoke out today and said he's not taking this bill up. See, they've put together border reform that actually would transform things, border reform that acknowledges that it's an emergency. So I will be a no and continue to be a no on this bill because I think it puts Ukraine first and America last. And with that, Madam President, I yield my time.
All right. Now, Marco Rubio was also great on the Senate floor, but he was even better on Fox Business with Larry Kudlow. Take a look at this.
My problem is we are here. We met through Super Bowl weekend. All of it is fine with me. What I wonder is what people back home are saying to me, and that is you guys will stay up there for days at a time, cancel trips, whatever it is you're going to do to help other countries with their invasion, but you never do that for us. We have an invasion going on right now, and you won't give that priority. And so I think Americans are tired of always being told they're second to another country, second to an interest group, second to something, the global economy, whatever it might be. They're tired of it. And I think that's being exposed here, how out of touch politics has become, including people in both parties, with what the priorities are of everyday working Americans.
Yeah. God bless these senators for consistently pointing out to our border. They couldn't do anything. They punted. They had a disastrous negotiation with the White House and Democrats. So they just decide, well, we can't do anything about our southern border. And now we're asked to commit close to $100 billion so that Ukraine can help fend off an infringement on their border. I assure you, more illegal immigrants have crossed into America over the last 3 years than Russians have crossed the border into Ukraine in the last 3 years. And Rubio's right. We're going to pull an all-nighter. We're gonna stay through Super Bowl week. We're gonna suspend recess. We got to get something done for Ukraine. How about doing something for Texas? How about doing something for Arizona? How about doing something for us? J.D. Vance, the freshman senator from Ohio, also brilliant over the night last night. In fact, I think this was around 3 a.m. when he delivered these remarks.
The unfortunate truth is the Chinese don't care about our resolve. They care about our strength. In classical foreign policy schools, deterrence is the combination of resolve and capacity. You have to both want to do something, but most importantly, you have to have the ability to do that thing. And we have no capacity to deter the Chinese in East Asia and help the Ukrainians fight a war in Eastern Europe. For many generations, our leadership shipped our industrial base, our manufacturing jobs overseas, and that has left us in a place where we don't produce enough weapons. We don't produce enough missiles. We don't produce enough artillery shells. We don't produce enough of the critical munitions that are necessary to fight conflicts all over the world. So every time we spend critical resources on Ukraine, we ensure that they will not be available to a contingency necessary for the United States of America. That's not hypothetical and that's not abstract. We, even now, are sending weapons to Ukraine far faster than we can make them. Why are we sending cluster munitions to Ukraine right now? And again, I'll ask, where is the anti-war left? What happened to the left that was worried about sending cluster munitions to various conflicts all over the world? Why are we sending cluster munitions to Ukraine? It's because we don't make enough artillery shells to send to Ukraine, to Israel, and to other needed partners.
Critically important points there from Senator Vance here. First of all, obviously, America last again. We are literally sending them munitions that are our own military needs, and we don't have them ourselves, and we're not making them fast enough. So now we're just like, all right, well, send them that. So you got American military last, Ukrainian military first. But secondly, and I think it's incredibly ironic, where the hell is the anti-war protesters? Where in God's name are all these people who hate war and by the way, I hate war. I hate the death of innocents. I hate that. That's why I want there to be a ceasefire right now in Ukraine and Russia. It's going nowhere. It's been 2 years. It's a ceasefire. We keep hearing from Ukraine, oh, we got a new offensive coming up, our big spring offensive, and we're going to put Russia on its heels. And it never happens, and it never materializes. It ain't moving anywhere. And if you really care about ending war, if you really care about keeping innocent women and children from being murdered in war, then you'd be promoting the idea of a ceasefire. You'd be promoting the idea of negotiations. And so where is everybody who was screaming for that for the last 20 years of my life? They seem to be shut up. It's almost like they don't really believe in the principles or values that they constantly scream in the streets about. They just care about political power. And so their pals are in power right now, so they're keeping their mouths shut. Funny how that works. Chuck Schumer, the majority leader for the Democrats, who, working with Mitch McConnell, pushed this thing through, then issued a challenge to Mike Johnson and the House of Representatives.
Today, the Senate keeps its word to Ukrainians in need.
Did you follow that? Did you catch that? We kept our word to Ukrainians in need. When was the last time they kept their word to you? Yeah, it's so stirring and emotional to see the Senate keep their word to the people of Ukraine and the Ukrainians in need, right? I mean, it's connected directly to when they step up and they are sworn into office and they put their hand on the Bible or whatever else book they want to use. I mean, some of the Democrats sadly use, kiddie porn that they want to put into public schools right now. But they swear, they put their hand on their holy book, and they swear and they pledge to protect and defend the Constitution of Ukraine. We kept our promise to Ukrainians in need. You only have one promise. It's to the American people. My God. I mean, again, we prefer clarity to agreement here, but I just wish they weren't so clear about it.
Today, the Senate keeps its word to Ukrainians in need, desperate need, of supplies and ammunition, to innocent Palestinian civilians in need, so much need, of relief, to Israelis in need of support, and to U.S. service members on patrol in the Indo-Pacific, the Red Sea, and around the world. Today, we sent a clear bipartisan message of resolve to our allies in NATO. With the strong bipartisan vote in the Senate, it's clear that if Speaker Johnson brings this bill to the House floor, it will pass with that same bipartisan support. The responsibility now falls on Speaker Johnson and House Republicans to approve this bill swiftly. And I call on Speaker Johnson to rise to the occasion, to do the right thing, bring this bill to the floor.
Yeah, that is not happening. Speaker Johnson will be rising to the occasion, and he'll be standing in the way of this bill. In fact, he put out a statement as soon as this vote came through. He even put out a statement on Sunday, I think, saying, this bill is dead. Don't even bother voting on it. He said the Senate did the right thing last week, rejecting the Ukraine, Taiwan, Gaza, Israel immigration legislation because it had no border provisions. And this bill is even worse. The mandate of national security supplemental legislation was to secure America's own border before sending additional foreign aid around the world. It's what the American people demand and deserve. Now, in the absence of having received any single border policy change from the Senate, the House will have to continue to work its own will on these important matters. Good for Speaker Johnson. He also pointed out that the House acted 10 months ago with HB 2. You hear people mentioning HB 2 all the time. That's House Bill 2, the Secure Our Border Act. And since then, the Senate has failed to meet the moment. The problem is not the House rising to the occasion. It's Chuck Schumer not caring about our own international border and, well, fulfilling his promise to Ukrainians in need. Meanwhile, and I wish I had video of this, it's got to exist somewhere, or at least audio of this, but apparently Senator Tom Tillis was asked about this and why Republicans, poll after poll after poll, say that they do not support this move to continue funding the Ukrainian military and neglecting our own border. And in response, he said, and I'm quoting him, "Our base cannot possibly know what's at stake at the level that any well-briefed U.S. senator should know about what's at stake if Putin wins." And McConnell also said that it was the dimmest and most short-sighted view for those who criticize what the Senate just did. That's you they're talking about. That's you. That's Senator Tom Tillis saying that you're too dumb to get it. That's Senator Tom Tillis saying you, the base, the votes that they count on, expect, take for granted, that you can't possibly know what's at stake at the level that a U.S. senator would know. Yeah, if you oppose them, you're just too stupid to know any better. Again, it's good that they say it out loud. We appreciate it. Good to know. We'll just add you to the list, Mr. Tillis. Get ready for your primary. I'm thinking he might be doing what Mitt Romney's done and just decide, yeah, you know what, maybe this is my final term. Listen, I want to take a quick moment to tell you that if you're enjoying this video, if you're enjoying our show every day, you should really swing over to townhall.com and become a VIP member. We have a special code for you right now that'll give you 50% off a Town Hall VIP membership. Just use code Larry. That's easy to remember. That's me. I'm Larry. Use the code Larry when you get over to townhall.com. And this applies to all of the Town Hall sites. You go to Town Hall, you go to Red State, Hot Air, PJ Media, Twitchy, bearing arms. Join the VIP. You get a ad-free experience. You get exclusive content. You get exclusive videos. You get exclusive podcasts, including from my buddy Kurt Schlichter. He does regular videos and podcasts. They're just for VIP members. And also you support the journalism that we do on a regular basis. You know what it's like out there with big tech. You know what it's like with censorship. The only way we can survive all of the censorship and the attempts to block what we do and to scare advertisers from websites like ours is to have great support from loyal VIP members like you. So do me a favor. If you like what you see here and like what you hear, get on over to townhall.com or any of our Town Hall sites and use that promo code Larry for 50% off. So the Biden administration, and more importantly, the Biden campaign, they are still in drastic damage control right now. They are reeling from that report last week that told the American people officially in a legal court document, well, what the American people have already seen and heard with our eyes and ears, that Joe Biden is incapable of being the president of the United States. This document, of course, said that he was incapable of defending himself in court and that a jury would just give him a pass because they just see a senile, old, amiable man there in front of them. And that's exactly what our allies and enemies around the world see, and it's what we see. We've been seeing it. We've seen his decline. So they're in damage control mode, and it manifests in a brand new video that they put on their TikTok page as well as their YouTube page. We'll get to the TikTok part in a minute, but I want you to see what this video looks like. It's Joe having a meal with a black family.
Well, man, you got chicken fingers, you got the whole deal. I want the root of making sure I had the hamburger. So tell me about you guys. What you doing these days?
Why don't you share about your passion in sports?
I'm playing AAU basketball right now.
Are you really? Are you guard?
Yes, sir.
Now, what grade are you in?
7th grade.
7th grade.
Right now, I'm just doing basketball, playing guard on the JV team for my school.
How about in school? How y'all doing in school? You should tell the president about the school.
Favorite thing about it is the business academy I'm in. We get to like travel, so we've been to like NC State, Wait Tech, and
You're kidding me.
we went to this small dry cleaning business, and it's cool. It's a great experience.
I'm impressed. Is that a new program at the school?
Yes, sir, it is. It just started just a couple of years ago.
You know how much this guy loves you. You just feel it, can't you?
Yes, sir.
Your dad jumped in front of a bull for you. By the way, we dads are hard to raise. Once you're a teenager, we're hard to raise. So you gotta be patient with us, you know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
A little patient.
Well, I don't know about you, but I feel a lot better now. He seems totally capable and in command of major high-level legislative affairs domestically and national security concerns around the world. Are you kidding me? This is the best they got? This is what we got to stick by. We got to show that Biden is great and coherent and really, on his best game. Yeah, let's throw that video out there. This is an embarrassment. He barely was able to put together more than 1 or 2 sentences without edits. And because I'd love to see the raw footage of this, by the way. But if you're trying to tell us that the president of the United States is completely lucid, has a great memory, and capable of doing his job, and to prove it, you show him making small talk with a family who's forced to be there and eat and talk to him. Yeah, I'm sorry, you're not assuaging any of our fears. Also, not to be too nitpicky, but I'm guessing the White House catered this meal. They brought the food for the family. Who had the bright idea of making sure that the black kids all got fried chicken and Biden stuck with a hamburger? I mean, that doesn't quite look right, does it? Especially considering, Joe Biden's past, his history of rather racist things that he has said and done and voted for. I mean, it's not me saying this. It's his own vice president, Kamala Harris, who chastised him for being racist back in the campaign. I don't know. I could be wrong, but maybe Biden could have taken one for the team and had the fried chicken as well. Meanwhile, they put out a longer version of this video over on YouTube, and I just want to show you the very beginning of it because Joe Biden actually literally checks his watch because he wants to get the hell out of there. Watch. You see? That's at the very beginning of the video over at YouTube. Let's watch it again. Is it time to go yet? I got to get the hell out of here. This is pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. And again, this pretend propaganda to try to make Joe Biden just look like a regular guy who's, how many times has he, he loves to get up in front of a black church. I was raised in a black church. Really? Were you, Joe? Were you? Did he look like he was natural and completely comfortable and at ease in that setting? It reminds you of Hillary Clinton. Remember, I know you know it's bad when you're doing a political appearance and it reminds people of Hillary Clinton. But remember this moment when she was running in 2016?
No more questions? They said no, she has to go.
What's something that you always carry with you?
Hot sauce.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Are you getting information right now?
Hot sauce.
Hot sauce in my bag, swag?
Hot sauce.
Really?
Yes.
Now listen, I
yes.
just want you to know people are going to see this and say, okay, she's pandering to black people.
Okay. Is it working?
Sorry. I miss her so much. Dude, there's some rumors in DC right now that that she's working behind the scenes to push him out so she can run. God, please, Lord. I know we're about to enter Lent, and I'm going to be praying a lot. But if we could just do us this one favor, and yes, please have them replace Biden with Hillary Clinton. We need that. So there's Joe Biden being good old regular Joe eating fried chicken with the black family. And here's Hillary Clinton saying, I carry hot sauce around in my bag. You're pandering. Is it working? This is all they know. It's all they know. It's all they know how to do. So while you watch that video of Joe Biden, and then, by the way, and I want to be clear here, that looks like a great family. And that does look like a great dad. And I love hearing about the kids' school. And by the way, it sounds like a specialized charter school, not the typical public school that Democrats would trap your kids into. And by the way, any great, cool business academy that these kids are involved with, they have to do with local school systems and maybe the state or county level. Has nothing to do with the federal government, has nothing to do with the president of the United States. But of course, that'll get lost in the mix. But I love seeing that dad. I love seeing him engaged with these kids. They seem like really well-behaved kids. It's wonderful. Has nothing, literally nothing to do with Joe Biden. And if you're watching that, you know that those kids are like, why do we have to do this? Right? It's like, don't you wish you had some sort of maybe, insight into what they were thinking and how they were reacting to this entire thing? Well, your wish is granted, because they actually put together a little behind the scenes video of their own. Can I just say, I'm going to pause it there for a second, because I love whenever the two brothers interact with each other, they're always like, what the hell are we doing? Seriously, what is this? Why are we doing this? What is this man doing in our kitchen? It's great. They're kids being kids, but there's obviously a level of, what are we talking to this old white man for? It's like they all show up, they got the motorcade, they bring in the cameras, let's eat some fried chicken, and then he's going to be out of here. And I assure you, you will not only never hear from that man again, but he will never do anything for you again. But what's even more important, that this is, again, I want to point out, this is their attempt to show that everything is fine with Joe Biden and that he's at the top of his game, right? And part of that strategy, as you just saw, is to start a TikTok account. Now, let's remember that the FBI director, Christopher Wray, under oath last year, testified that TikTok is a compromised social media platform, compromised by the Communist Party in China. If you work for the government right now, if you're in the military, you are prohibited from having that app on your smartphone. But the Biden campaign will be using that app to try to get votes and maybe to send secret messages to their overlords in Beijing. Here's a video of Joe Biden talking about the Super Bowl on his TikTok. And again, I want to remind you as you watch this, this is the Biden campaign's attempt to show how lucid and on top of things Joe Biden is.
Chiefs or Niners?
Two great quarterbacks, hard to decide. But if I didn't say I was for the Eagles, then I'd be sleeping alone. My wife's a Philly girl.
Game or commercials?
Game.
Game or halftime show?
Game.
Jason Kelsey or Travis Kelsey?
Mama Kelsey. I understand she makes great chocolate chip cookies.
Deviously plotting to rig the season so the Chiefs would make the Super Bowl, or the Chiefs just being a good football team?
You get in trouble if I told you.
Trump or Biden?
Oh, no. Oh, wait. I'm sorry. Trump or Biden. Let's continue here.
Are you kidding? Biden.
There you go. Feel better now? See, he's obviously very lucid. I think he made it actually 3 words without a jump cut. There were more jump cuts in that video than a 17-year-old TikToker after a 6-pack of Celsius. Again, show us the footage. I want to see all the outtakes. John Kirby was asked about the policy right now prohibiting government employees and military personnel from utilizing TikTok, and how does that mesh with the Biden campaign using TikTok?
Why did the president allow his campaign? The president allow his campaign to go on TikTok despite the national security review of the platform?
I'd have to refer you to the campaign.
But I mean, it's still the president of the United States. He's still sending, the president is sending a message to Americans about the safety of TikTok by doing this.
I'd have to refer you to the campaign on that.
That's not good enough. That's, in fact, atrocious and ridiculous. Oh, that's not a question for us. It's the campaign doing that. He's the president. He's the president, whether he's utilizing TikTok for his campaign or if he's using TikTok for official government business. He's still the president. So I guess the better way to ask the question, and I wish I had been in that room, I really get frustrated when people who are paid to ask questions don't ask questions well. Would it have been appropriate or approved for the White House to have a TikTok account? No, it would not. Why not? Can you tell us why the White House could not put that? Because the White House would put a video exactly like that on their Instagram or on their Facebook or on their X account. So why would it be wrong for the White House to put that exact same content on TikTok? Please explain it to us, Mr. Kirby. And after he gives you the answer, then you say, then why is it okay for his campaign to do that? Now, he will still say, oh, I refer you to the campaign. But at least you actually have him saying how dangerous TikTok is and how outrageous it is that the campaign is actually utilizing a platform that's infiltrated by the Chi-Coms. All right. Meanwhile, Chuck Schumer was asked about all of the questions regarding Joe Biden's mental incapacity and his inability to do his job since he can't even appear in court. And he had a really new, interesting spin on this.
First one, I talk to President Biden, regularly, sometimes several times in a week, or usually several times in a week. His mental acuity is great. It's fine. It's as good as it's been over the years. I've been speaking to him for 30 years since we worked on the Brady bill and the assault weapons ban when I was a young congressman.
Pro tip here, if you're trying to show that Joe Biden has no problems with his age, in fact, he's a super young and spry guy, you probably shouldn't say, are you kidding? I've been working with this guy for 40 years. I'm just saying. I mean, we worked together back when we were young. Probably not the best messaging when you're trying to dissuade anyone from fears about his age. That said,
he's fine. All this right-wing propaganda that his mental acuity is declined is wrong. He's going to win the election because he has a great record.
Did you catch that? Right-wing propaganda. Right-wing. He just, first of all, by the way, accused a sitting U.S. attorney and the special prosecutor empowered by the Justice Department of engaging in right-wing propaganda in his legal document filed with the court. But any question about the president's age and ability is right-wing propaganda. And boy, the last thing we would ever want in America is propaganda, right? I mean, I can't stand propaganda. Let's not have any propaganda going on there. Have you seen the video of Joe Biden eating fried chicken with the black family? Just chilling because, you know, that's how he rolls. Yeah, we don't want any propaganda around here. Last thing we'd want is propaganda. Oh, and speaking of propaganda, let's take a quick look at this. Our friends at Media Research Center has reminded us of what the mainstream news media has been doing for the last 3 years regarding Joe Biden's age.
If you're concerned about Joe Biden's age, you probably don't know Joe Biden.
Biden is actually in good shape.
Right. Mentally, he's quite acute.
Any aide who engages with him or reporters, we can see this. The gears of his mind are working.
The right-wing media has so fixated on Biden and Biden purportedly having cognitive issues.
It's not just making an issue of Biden's age. It's lying. It's saying he's senile. It's saying he's demented, saying he's out of it.
Russian television has been filled with speculation about President Biden's age, about his mental state of mind.
That's an issue pushed by right-wing media, but it's not correct.
Yeah, Republicans on the other side have spent 4 years almost kind of weaponizing Biden's age against him. Trump is not that much younger than him.
Biden is just a couple of years older than Donald Trump.
Yeah, this goes on and on and on because, you know, the real concern here is right-wing propaganda because the liberals, the left-wing, the mainstream media, they would never engage in any kind of propaganda. Did you notice how they all use the same words and the same talking points and the same approach, person after person, channel after channel? But I'm sure that's not coordinated. And I'm certainly sure that's not propaganda. Listen, by the way, we love that we're live now on Rumble every day at noon. Please, if you're watching this after the fact, either at the Town Hall websites or at YouTube or anywhere else you find this video, join us live at noon every single day, Monday through Thursday at least, on Rumble, so you can be part of the show. And leave comments, by the way. If you are watching, go ahead and leave comments so we can interact with you. Thank you so much for being part of this show. We've got more here. Let's continue now in Massachusetts. You'll remember the illegal immigrant problem got so bad up there that the governor has now asked Massachusetts residents, taxpayers, citizens to start taking in illegal immigrants into their homes to help alleviate some of the shelter problems that state has had. Here's a quick report from WBZ, that's the CBS station up there, about a family who said, sure, yeah, okay, we'll take someone, and watch how fast they, you know, when was the last time any state government acted this fast? Watch.
Colin and Jessica Stokes called the state to sign up to be a host family. It took less than an hour for the displaced migrants to be dropped off at their door.
I gotta get sheets on the bed. How many people are coming? Where are they from? What ages? We really knew nothing.
The need is so clearly overwhelming.
The family of four who didn't want to go on camera had been sleeping at Logan Airport. The parents and two kids journeyed from Chile to Texas, then Massachusetts, and there are so many stories like it.
It boggles the mind that there are so many hundreds of those stories.
I'm sorry, have you ever tried to get your registration renewed or your driver's license renewed, or ever called the IRS helpline for, you know, some service from the government, or about your passport? Remember, there was like a couple of months ago, there was something like a 9-month wait to get your passport renewed from the State Department. I could go on and on and on. Anytime you, an American citizen, need anything, any deliverable, any service, any information from your government at any level, do you ever get that kind of response? These guys call up. Yeah, okay, we've got some room. We'll take some illegal immigrants in our house. Within an hour, they're dropped off on their doorstep. I imagine if the entire government worked as efficiently as the entire apparatus behind illegal immigration in this country right now. Also, by the way, this family came from Chile. My understanding is that these people are in this country because they're claiming asylum. You know, there's only a certain number of legal parameters you're allowed to use for asylum. Political oppression, religious oppression, I think sexual orientation oppression, or that sort of thing. What's going on in Chile that suddenly someone from Chile deserves protection and political asylum? There isn't. The answer is there's nothing. Oh, yeah, you can claim asylum for a national disaster as well. There's nothing like that going on down in Chile. They just know that this country is an ATM, that they're going to get a bunch of services, they're going to get a job, and so they're gaming the system. Millions and millions and millions of people. These are all false claims of asylum. So they break the law coming into the country illegally. They break the law making a false claim of asylum. They break the law while they're staying here illegally. But watch what happens after they actually move into the house. This is now from the NBC affiliate up in Boston. This story is perfection. This is quintessential liberal hypocrisy, limousine liberal hypocrisy, where we have this well-to-do liberal woman who opens her door to a Haitian immigrant and her family. And watch how wonderful it is for her.
Story you'll only see here on NBC 10 Boston. A migrant family from Haiti is sharing their experience. They're searching for shelter in the Boston area and then recently found a host home in Brookline. And now they're looking for jobs. As NBC 10's Aaron Logan reports, they say these last few weeks have been life-changing. And
it's been an emotional few weeks for Wildande Joseph and her husband. First, sleeping on the floor at Logan Airport. Then in Children's Hospital with their 2-year-old daughter who got very sick.
Me siento mal. Es muy difícil este tiempo.
She felt bad, as any mother would. Now things are looking much brighter as they've been welcomed into Lisa Hillenbrand's Brookline apartment.
Tu niña es muy alegre ahora. Sí, muy alegre. Cuando se levanta en la mañana, se dice, "Ay, Lisa."
She says her daughter is very happy. When she wakes up in the morning, she says, "Hi, Lisa," and everyone starts the day smiling.
It's a delight, and it's really fun having them. What I realized is there's so much prejudice against refugees, mostly because people don't know them.
Lisa says she feels like she has her own personal chef, as Wildande loves cooking.
¿Te gusta la ocupación? Sí.
In fact, her goal is to open up her own restaurant.
Quiero tener mi propio restaurante.
The couple has their work permits and they've been taking English classes.
Yo cualquier trabajo va a hacer para guardar mi dinero para hacer mi futuro.
They're open to work anywhere to save money for their future. In the meantime, they're enjoying their time with Lisa, their new friend for life, and their daughter's new grandmother.
They are hardworking. They want to learn. They want to be successful. And I feel great helping, and I get to understand the refugee crisis from the inside.
Lisa says she's so impressed by the number of people she's met right here at Brookline Town Hall meetings who've been stepping up and hosting families. She's hopeful more will do the same in the coming days and weeks. In Brookline, Aaron Logan, NBC 10 Boston.
That makes you feel great about yourself, doesn't it? I mean, you heard that from her voice. This makes me feel so good. It's really about her feeling so good. Let's see, by the way, in about 6, 7, 8 months, how good you're feeling about this situation. Did you also catch the part where she said, it's like having a live-in personal chef? That's the job she's going to end up getting, by the way. She's just going to be a live-in domestic. That's what's going on here. It's brilliant. Also, by the way, not to throw the law out there or anything, but again, I want to point out this whole refugee status thing. You can be a political refugee. You can be a refugee from a country because you're being oppressed that way, or because of your religious faith, or because of a natural disaster. These people are from Haiti. There have been natural disasters from Haiti. There was a devastating earthquake, you'll remember, in 2010, I believe it was. 2009, and a lot of refugees came in because of that earthquake. There's been hurricanes. Going back to 1991, we've taken refugees from Haiti for various reasons. In the last 10 years, there really hasn't been. In fact, you'll remember there was a huge influx of Haitian refugees at the southern border. That started the whole fake whipping story, right? The Border Patrol agents that were on horseback trying to keep people from crossing the country illegally, and the Biden administration bought into the lie that they were being whipped. You remember that, right? Well, back then, NPR did an article about those Haitian refugees, and they interviewed one of the families who were seeking refuge here. And here's what they said, quoting now, "Haiti is like a war zone right now. Shootings are rampant. People are being killed for small things. It's not a livable country. It's very dangerous." Now, that sounds terrible. It also sounds like what goes on every night in Washington, D.C., or in Chicago, or in Detroit, or in Baltimore, or in Boston, or in New York, or you get the picture, right? And it's also not grounds for asylum. These people are not political refugees. They are economic refugees. They are trying to get into this country for a better life. You just heard it. They've got their work permit. They're going to start a restaurant. This is not about fleeing political oppression or religious oppression or a disaster. It's about leaving a country that has a dysfunctional government and doesn't enforce the law and allows organized crime and gangs to run wild in the streets. And I wouldn't want to live there either. But that doesn't mean that anyone who lives in those conditions has the right to come to this country. Because if everyone who lived in those conditions had the right to come to this country, then basically people who are living in 95% of the world's surface would have a right to come to this country. Because that's the norm out there when you don't have a functioning government. Now, Massachusetts is creative in how they're handling this issue by having white liberals open up their doors and bring in television cameras to show how wonderful it is to have a personal private chef. We should really revisit that family in a couple of months and see how it's going. But over in Chicago, they have their own creative solution. Let's check in with that mayor, shall we?
The $17 million investment for these 18 Black and brown small businesses is really it really captures what I call the soul of Chicago. It's who we are.
Last May, the city of Chicago called on the food depository to help feed new arrivals.
But did you pick that up there? This is a multi-million-dollar campaign to help feed the illegal immigrants who are having trouble in Chicago. But it's only available to Black and brown-owned businesses. If you're a white business in Chicago and you are best equipped to feed the illegal immigrants, and you can do it actually in the most efficient way and save the city of Chicago some money, in fact, in the deal, doesn't matter because the owner of the business has white skin. And in Chicago, these business grants, these government grants, and these contracts are only going to Black or brown skin owners of businesses. I mean, it's literally racism. I mean, people call that reverse racism. No, it's just racism. Listen to him.
The $17 million investment for these 18 Black and brown small businesses.
Wow. By the way, it's clear what's happening here. That mayor and his Democrat Party, they are under fire right now from Black community, from Black residents, from Black citizens, from Black taxpayers, because they're being displaced by all of the illegal immigrants being flooded into the city of Chicago. You've seen them protesting. You've seen them speaking out at city council meetings. They are ticked off at their mayor. And this is basically a payoff. This is basically the Chicago mayor saying, wow, you know, Black people are angry at us because of all the illegal immigrants. So let's just throw some government money in the form of contracts to Black and brown owned businesses, and maybe they'll shut up. It's the most cynical aspect of politics in America, especially racial politics in America, brought to you by the Democrats. They've been doing it for about 150 years, ever since they lost their slaves. Marco Rubio on the Senate floor really showed in stark contrast what's going on here with illegal immigration here.
One of the things I see a lot in South Florida are people that have been in this country that maybe came from Cuba 45 years ago. They've worked here their entire lives. They retire. They get $800, $900, $1,000 a month from Social Security. And then they run into somebody who just got here from Cuba 3 months ago, is 29 years old, doesn't work, and is given $1,500 a month in benefits by our government because they're refugees. That refugee, a year later, is traveling back to Cuba 15 times. So you're a refugee fleeing oppression from a place that you now go back and visit 15 times the following year. And in the meantime, we're giving you Medicaid, food stamps, health care for your children, cash payments from the refugee fund. So imagine if you've been working here for 40 years and your Social Security check is smaller than the benefits going to a 28-year-old. able-bodied person who just got here. That's real. That happens. That's happening every day. That makes no sense.
Welcome aboard, Marco. It's good to have you. He's absolutely right, and he's been really strong on this issue for a little while, but he wasn't, if you remember right, about 7 years ago. You remember when he was running for the nomination for the Republican presidency back in 2016, and he was running against Donald Trump, and he criticized, he along with his buddy Jeb Bush and a couple of the other Republican nominees, or candidates, I should say, were criticizing Donald Trump for his harsh immigration stance. And how dare you, don't talk about building a wall. That's not who we are, right? And it's funny how Marco Rubio has come full course. And I don't think it's because of political cynicism. I don't think that he was just saying that and he didn't really believe it, or he's just saying this and he didn't really believe it. No, I actually think he has literally evolved in his position on immigration in this country because he has seen what it's like under Joe Biden now. When the Democrats do whatever they want on the border, when they have free reign and they can just open the floodgates, Marco Rubio now sees what Donald Trump and a good portion of the Republican population saw back in 2015 and 2016 during the primaries. So it's good to have him on board now. You know, it's funny. When you're sort of a middle-of-the-road, moderate Republican and maybe even a rhino, and you start seeing exactly what the left-wing Democrat policies will do and manifest in real time before your eyes, it's amazing how radicalizing that can be. And where 8 years ago you were making fun of all those MAGA hat-wearing crazy Neanderthals, now suddenly it's like, yeah, give me a hat. Give me a hat, because now I see exactly what Democrats will do and what the results will be if they're able to just have free reign. So welcome aboard, Marco. Tell a friend, by the way, and check in on Jeb, will you? I'm worried about him. By the way, guys, if you're watching right now and you are part of our live stream at Rumble, you know how fun Locals can be, right? Rumble and Locals are partner, and I want you to know that I have my own Locals page where you can become a Larry VIP member, and you'll get a free flow of all the content that we produce on a daily basis, including my radio show in Washington, D.C., plus extra exclusive content just for my VIP members. So go to LarryO'Connor.locals.com, LarryO'Connor.locals.com. And if you use the code LarryX, then you'll get a free month on me. All right, check it out right now and check it out for free. Thank you. Up in Canada, we love the conservative politician Pierre Poilievre. He is going to be running for the prime minister seat against Justin Trudeau. And he's best when he's engaging with the media. Well, you know, up in Canada, they actually have government-funded media, right? The government subsidizes the press. Imagine that. Imagine just for a minute what it would be like here in America. I mean, I know we've got NPR and PBS, but imagine if the vast majority of the reporters and the broadcast networks and cable networks got direct subsidy payouts from our government. They'd be 10 times worse than they already are. Don't believe me? Take a look at this. Take a look at what happened when Pierre Poilievre actually voted to cut that funding for the media. Watch how this reporter reacts.
Why did your party want to grant over $100 million in regulatory relief to the mainstream media?
We don't want to give any tax dollars to the mainstream media. Our belief is that the mainstream media and all.
Decision, then, your party's decision to grant regulatory relief?
So I'll answer your question. The media that is bought and paid for, where are you from, by the way? Which outlet are you in? Which outlet? Which outlet?
Canadian Press.
Okay, Canadian Press. So you're talking about tax dollars for media. Isn't CBC your biggest? Isn't no? I can answer. Yeah, and you want to answer?
The party want to grant $100 million in regulatory relief to the mainstream media.
When would you like me to respond? Okay, good. Okay, great. So of course you are a tax-funded media outlet and spreading Justin Trudeau's message.
Why did you?
And so you're.
All right, so we're going to jump in here. It goes on, and you're going to see more of it. But you see what's happening here, right? So she works for a media outlet, and there are many other media outlets that are actually directly funded by the government. And who's in charge of the government right now? The Liberal Party, Justin Trudeau. And of course, Justin Trudeau talks to these media outlets that are funded by the government, by his government. And he says, listen, I got more money. You could hire more reporters. Maybe build yourself a new office building, buy yourself some new equipment. You know what? Maybe everybody who works for the CBC or the Canadian Press, maybe all the reporters, they deserve to have maybe 8 weeks vacation, maybe 10 weeks vacation, and maybe even a bonus so that they can really have a nice vacation and get out of this cold place, get down there to Florida and enjoy America a little bit, go to Disney World or something, right? This is what they do. And so then they all know, geez, if we keep Trudeau in place, he's going to make our lives a lot happier and a lot better. I'm going to get a raise. I'm going to get a bonus. I'm going to get a long vacation. I'm going to get a new office. So I'm going to go out there and I'm going to make sure that Trudeau stays in office. So I'm going to attack his opponent. And of course, his opponent is going to do the opposite, right? It's like, oh, screw you. I'm not going to give you extras. In fact, if I win, you guys are out. I'm going to cut you down. So look at how aggressive this reporter. You think our reporters are aggressive? And they are. Look at how aggressive she gets, interrupting him constantly. I love that he's smiling about, by the way, oh, God, I wish every Republican who has to deal with the media in this country takes clues and lessons from Pierre here. You got to laugh at them. Don't get angry. Make fun of them. Laugh at them because they're constantly displaying the reason why they should be mocked. Right? All right, a little bit more here. It goes on. It's so beautiful.
You're interrupting me again. You're interrupting me again. I am answering the question.
Do you regret granting $100 million in regulatory relief to the mainstream media?
Your question is false. So if you can allow me to correct your falsehoods, then we can answer the question directly. So, false. Canadian conservatives do not believe in giving tax dollars to media outlets. That's Justin Trudeau. That's Justin Trudeau. That's Justin Trudeau. Okay, if you don't want me to answer the question, I'll move on to someone else. You're a tax funded mouthpiece to the PMO. That's the reality. So
question answered. You committed.
I'm trying to, but you're heckling. Are you going to let me answer the question, or are you just going to heckle on behalf of Justin Trudeau? Which is it?
I would love the answer.
Great. So our party does not support tax dollars for media outlets, because that's when we end up with biased media like you, who come here and articulate the PMO talking points rather than delivering real news to the Canadian people. Justin Trudeau gave Bell Media and other media tax dollars supposedly to protect media jobs. And then what happened? They all got laid off. So that the supposed justification for giving Bell all this money was that it was going to save media jobs. Well, they all got fired. So I guess that wasn't the real reason for giving tax dollars to the media. The real reason was for him to buy support from the media, which is what it actually did. So we believe that media should be driven by readership, viewership, and listenership. And that's what allows it to represent the Canadian people rather than taking marching orders from the PMO.
Imagine that. Imagine that. Having the media actually be beholden to the whims and wills of the market, the consumer, you. And of course, up there in Canada, we can't possibly have that. So I laid out, and he sort of laid out right there exactly. He kept saying PMO, that's Prime Minister's office. Kept laying out exactly how this whole thing is set up. Trudeau buys off the big media companies. He gets favorable coverage. I do love the fact that they ended up laying off reporters anyway, because it's really just buying the people at the top, and the reporters on the ground don't care. This lady obviously wants to keep her job, so she's going to keep her overlords happy. And that means the media company she works for, and also by extension, Justin Trudeau, goes after this guy, heckles him, argues with him, debates him. But the cycle is not complete. No. The circle jerk continues here with now a member of Justin Trudeau's party, a member of parliament, coming out and responding to that little press conflict that you just saw. She's going to come out and do her own little stand-up with the reporters. Watch.
So I just want to get back on the altercation between Pierre Poilievre yesterday and a journalist from Canadian Press.
Oh, it's an altercation now. What you just saw was not a debate. It wasn't a disagreement. It wasn't an argument. It wasn't a dispute. It wasn't a politician trying to answer and then pushing back on a reporter who continued to interrupt him. Very politely, by the way. No. It was an altercation. So already she's just doing whatever she can to serve the entire cycle here. See? Okay? Because it's not just enough that the Liberal Party in Canada through Justin Trudeau buys off this favorable medium, the media coverage, and then has a reporter go out and do their dirty work by arguing and fighting with their main political opponent. Now she needs to bring it home. Watch.
First of all, I want to say that he's pretty thin-skinned. It's our job when we're politicians to answer questions from journalists. We're accountable to the Canadian population. And
he was trying to answer questions from the journal. He was trying to answer the questions. She wouldn't let him.
It's the journalist's job to ask those questions. Some questions are difficult. Some questions are easy. Yesterday's question was pretty easy. He was just asked to explain why his party introduced an amendment to lift fees for Canadian broadcasters. It's a pretty easy question. It's his party that brought that forward. So yes, when you're a politician, you need to answer questions. And when you're attacking the press, when you're attacking our free press, you're also attacking democracy. It's unworthy of a leader.
You see how that works? First of all, it was an altercation. You attacked the press, and therefore you're attacking democracy. It sounds pretty familiar, doesn't it? I mean, when Trump gets attacked for this and accused of this, he just sends out a funny GIF on Twitter, a funny meme showing a train rolling over a pretend cartoon CNN reporter or something. And that's an attack on the media, an attack on democracy itself. And Canada's learned quite a few lessons from what goes on down here in the lower 48. The only difference is up there, Canadians' tax dollars actually pay for that crap. So I guess we dodged a little bit of a bullet there. That's it for today's show. We will be back tomorrow, live noon on Rumble. If you like any of today's segments in particular, we break them out individually. You'll see them on Rumble. You'll see them on YouTube. You'll see them on our social media pages. Go ahead and share them wherever you'd like. Post them wherever you like. Make sure you like and subscribe all across the board. And we'll be back tomorrow. I'm Larry O'Connor. Please call me Larry.